Let's take a look at this practice quiz on rational numbers and expressions. And notice that it says no calculator allowed, so we want to make sure that we're showing all the work that we need to by hand to answer these questions. And then there is a part on this where you can use a calculator. So it says change 3/8 to a decimal. Now if you've got this memorized, you're in great shape. We know the answer is going to be 0.375, but you've got to show some work for this. So there's the answer, and the work would be this. Remember, this is 3 divided by 8, or in other words, 8 into 3. So 8 goes on the outside, 3 goes on the inside. We're going to change this to a decimal, so I'm going to put a decimal point right there and then move that straight up. And again, the reason we do that is because 8 doesn't go into 3, so we put the decimal there and we add a 0, and then we think, does 8 go into 30? And the answer to that is yes, it does. It goes in 3 times, so 3 times 8 would be 24. Let's see, do the subtraction, we end up with a 6. 8 doesn't go into 6, so we add a 0, and again I mentioned before that I kind of like stacking those zeros right on top of each other. 8 goes into 67 times. If we multiply, that's going to be 56. There's a 4 left over, and 8 doesn't go into 4, so we're going to add a 0 all the way up here, and that means 8 goes into 45 times, so we follow that straight up, put a 5. There's a 40 right here. The remainder is 0, so this is the answer right here. So we could just circle that and be done with that. This one's a little bit easier, changing from a decimal to fraction form. Again, all we need to do is say this the right way. This is 84 hundredths. So this is 84 100ths. Now we've successfully changed that to a fraction, but we want to write it in simplest form. So we'll notice that these are both even, so 2 goes into both of those. You might see something that's a little bit bigger, a little larger factor that would go into both of them, but nothing wrong with starting small. So 2 goes in here 50 times. That one's pretty easy. And then if this were an 80, 2 would go in there 40 times, and so this is a 4, so this is going to go 42 times. And then we'll notice again that both of these are even, so 2 goes in here 21 times, 2 goes in there 25 times, and now we've simplified that completely. So we've got 21 25ths, so we've changed 0.84 or 84 hundredths into a fraction. Alright, label the number line below, then locate 3/8 and 84 hundredths on the number line. So I'm going to leave this right here. It says label the number line, so let's see, this is that same one that we had in class, but let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So these are both numbers that are between 0 and 1. So let's label this as 0. Let's label that as 1. This would be 5/10. So we want to put these in the right spot, and we want to label them according to how they were written in the original problem. Let's do 0.84 first. This is going to be in between, so this is 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. It's in between 0.80 and 0.90. So just a tad, almost in the middle, but just a tad closer to 0.8 than 0.9. So we're going to put 0.84 right here. And then we're going to locate this. This is 3/8. This isn't broken up into 8ths, it's broken up into 10ths. So let's locate it according to the decimal part of the number. So 0.375. So that's going to be in between 0.30 and 0.40. A little bit closer to 0.4 than 0.3. So we're going to put it about right here. And we're going to label that as 3/8. Okay, we're in good shape there. And then now kind of comes your payoff for getting this memorized and knowing these common rational numbers. So I've got the fraction format here. We want to put the decimal, then the percent. So 1 as a decimal, if you wanted to put it as a decimal, 1.0. As a percent, again, we move the decimal over 2 places, so that would represent 100%. Okay. 1/3 would be 0.3 repeated as a decimal. Make sure you put the bar there. So that would be 33.3% if we rounded that to the nearest hundredth. 1/4 as a decimal is 0.25. Move it over 2 places so we get 25%. Let's see, 1/5. 1/5 would be 0.2 or 0.20 if you wanted to, and move that over 2 places, so that would be 20%. Fraction form, 1/10, so that would be 0.1. Decimal, move it over 2 places, 10%. Let's see, 0.125. Okay, so here's the decimal. Changing to a percent would be pretty easy. Move it over 2 places, so that's going to be 12.5%. You've got to recognize, remember, this is 1/8, so let's put 1/8 there. 0.5 repeated. Whenever we've got those repeating ones, that's going to be, when it's one digit and it's repeating, it's going to be some form of a ninth or a reduced form of a ninth. This ends up being 5/9. And if we move that over two places, remember this is going to be 0.5555 and so forth. So if we move it over two places, this is going to be 55. But then remember, if we're going to round to this place right here, this is enough to bump it up. So this is going to be 55.6%. And then 90%, move it over two places, so that would be 0.9, so that's going to be 9/10. So make sure you're familiar with those and maybe a couple of others for the quiz, so you're all set to go there. On the back side, you'll notice on here it says the calculator is allowed if you need it. So let's see, we're going to combine like terms. It says simplify each expression, round to the nearest hundredth if necessary. So on this one right here, we're going to combine the two of those. So I'm going to let the calculator do the work there. So I'm going to do, let's see, negative 5.72 minus 6.1. Now remember, you should know roughly what the answer is going to be. This is about 6 and this is about 6. They have the same sign, so we're expecting something around negative 12. So negative 11.82. So negative 11.82 with an x. Done with those, I'm going to lightly cross them off. And then I'm not even going to bother with a calculator on this one because we've got 2.5 minus 12.5. That's going to be negative 10. Feel free to check that on your calculator. And then with the fractions, I'm going to do them on the calculator, but I'm also going to figure these out by hand. So we've got 3/4 b and then minus 1/12 b. So I'm going to write off to the side. I'm going to write that that would be 9/12 b minus 1/12 b. So if we put those together, let's see, yep, 9/12, because I multiplied the top and bottom by 3. So this ends up being, this would be 8/12. And then we just want to recognize that we can reduce that. So that's going to be 2/3 b. And again, feel free to check that on your calculator. And then we've got 1/3, let's see, minus 1/5. So we're going to use 15ths. So we're going to times by 5, so that's going to be 5/15, times by 3 here, so that's going to be 3/15. So that's going to be 2/15. And that would be our answer there. Now, I am going to do this on the calculator, but I'm going to do this on this one. It doesn't have all those fancy keys that yours might. I'm just going to check this one right here. I'm going to do 1 divided by 3 minus 1 divided by 5. It's going to tell me that this is the answer right here, but this one also has that fraction to decimal thing. So it's going to take the answer and it's going to change it to a fraction. Notice it gives me 2/15, so we're in good shape there. Let's take a look at this one. We'll go ahead and distribute. I'll definitely do that math on the calculator. I do know we're going to get a negative, and 6 times 8, about 48-ish, maybe 49. So negative 6.2 times 8, negative 49.6, so negative 49.6k. Negative times a negative, we know we're going to get a positive there. So I'll do negative 6.2 times negative 4.7. This is about 5, that's about 6, so we're expecting something somewhere around 30, negative 29.14. Okay, got our answer there. Let's do this one. Let's see, if I distribute through, this is going to be negative, and we're going to have 9, because 3 times 3, and then on the bottom that's going to be 35. No common factors or anything like that, so we can't simplify anything. When we multiply here, though, I'm going to write this one out. Again, you're welcome to do this on the calculator. This one was 3/5 times 3/7. This one is 3/5 times 5/4. That means those 5s are going to cancel, so we're going to end up with a positive 3/4 would be the answer there. Okay. Keep going on these simplifying ones. Let's see, negative 6.2. Oh, similar to the one up above, but let's just check and see what we get here because we've got some terms to combine when we're done. So negative 6.2 times 2. Yeah, that looks good. Negative 12.4. And then negative 6.2. I'm just going to recall that, or you can hit the up arrow. and we're going to times that by negative 2.1. So we end up with a positive, no surprise there. Whoops, forgot the a there. So again, positive 13.02, 13.02, and then minus 3.8. So these are the like terms right here. So we're going to have negative 12.4a, and then when we combine the two of those together, 13.02 minus 3.8, so we get 9.22. So add 9.22, and let's keep going here with the fractions, multiplying here and here. Again, this would be 1/2 times 4/3, so I can cancel those. So that's going to be 2/3. Whoops, 2/3, and it is going to be positive because negative times a negative. This one here is going to be, whoops, forgot the y. Let's not do that. Okay, let's see, this one here, negative 1/2 times the 5/9. Nothing simplifies there as far as cross-canceling or anything, so we end up with negative 5/18, and then that minus 7/18. So when we put those together, we're going to get 2/3, sorry about that, 2/3 y, and then this would be minus 12/18 because we're going to combine those, same sign, find the sum. So that means we've got something that we can simplify here. So this is going to be 2/3 y, and then 6 goes in here twice, 6 goes in here 3 times. So oddly enough, this ends up being 2/3 y minus 2/3. And again, we can't do anything with those because they're not like terms. They don't have the same variable on them. Okay, last two problems. Factor each expression completely. You know by now I tend to like fractions better than decimals, so I'm going to think of this as 3/4 x plus 1/4. So 3/4 x plus 1/4. I'm going to take out the 1/4. That means we're left with 3x plus, remember if we divide everything out we're left with a 1. If you wrote it this way, if you wrote it as 0.75x plus 0.25, you'd be taking out 0.25 and you'd be left with 3x plus 1. So same thing either way. It's just a question of whether you're going to write the rational number as a 0.25 out front or as a 1/4. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. So this would be 1/8 ab minus, this is 3/8 a, and if I've got 1/8 and 3/8, I can definitely take out an 1/8, and I can definitely take out an a. So we're going to be left with just a b here, and we took out the 1/8 and the a, so we're left with a minus 3. So there's the answer on that one. If you did want to do it this way, and I'd be surprised if anybody did, 0.125 ab minus 0.375 a, you're going to take out a 0.125 and an a, you're left with a b, and then when we divide 0.375 by 0.125, you end up with a 3. So either way is fine there. All right, study hard and good luck on the quiz.